on the Georgia asphalt. Got a little crazy, but we never got caught. Down by the river on a Friday night. Pyramid cans in the pale moonlight. Talking about cars and dreaming about women. Never had a plan, just a living for the minute.
And that is our... Wait, there's a high five going on. And that is our welcoming song to Dynasty Wise Fantasy Football. I am Jeff, your host tonight. It's great to be with you tonight. And tonight we're going to be talking rookie quarterbacks. And the reason why they're singing that song is because I'm going down the list of Mayfield, Rosen, Darnold, Alan Jackson, and then Rudolph.
Yeah.
I apologize, everybody.
That's all right.
Oh, I can't sing with a crowd.
You just
That was horrible.
Gotta have fun with it. That's what I love.
That's why I drum.
Anyway, as I said, Jeff, your host tonight. With me to my left is Pat.
And let's get in it.
And to my right, the walking encyclopedia of sports, Chad. All right. First off, I just want to say I think it's been an exciting season for Dynasty owners, or if you're starting up your Dynasty league, because this year's draft, you can't deny the quarterback position. I definitely think teams pay way too much for stupid picks. Jake Locklear. People trade up for guys that you just know. I mean, Hackenberg was what, a second-round pick, Chad, a third?
No, Hackenberg was a third. I want to say third-round pick.
He was a third-round pick, and it's like these teams trade up where we're all sitting there going, why? He's just not going to make it. So he got traded to the Raiders today, meaning he's not going to be like he played in the Jets or for the Jets. He just basically wore New York Jets gear on the sidelines. Now he can wear Raiders gear on the sidelines.
That's a nice hat.
Yeah, he can nice sweats you got there.
Is that a new clipboard?
Right.
Team gear.
Yeah, you're representing the team there, so but to say one thing, this year's quarterbacks had a lot of hype. People have their doubts about some, without a doubt, but this year's crop of quarterbacks seem to have come with a little bit higher grade than the years past. So we're going to talk about them. Again, this is probably talk more dynasty value. Maybe, if Chad or Pat end up having a guy that they really say, look, get him, start him now, hey, so be it. But again, this is Dynasty Wise Fantasy Football. We're going to be hitting on some dynasty aspects of each of these guys, and we're going to start off with the number one pick of the draft. We're going to go Baker Mayfield. Pat, you got anything on Baker?
I wish he wouldn't have landed in the Browns. I mean, that's a inherently bad spot. I mean, the Browns. I mean, there's not very many quarterbacks that have done well in the Browns. They have given him some tools. He's got some tools that he can, he's able to, fling the pigskin to. But his protection is a question. I do like him. I mean, one of the biggest knocks on him was his height, but I don't think that'll be a problem. I mean, I think he's a professional, but I just wish he wouldn't have landed in Cleveland, because that would have been I was hoping he would land in the Bills or the Jets, maybe fall a little bit to where he would have a better opportunity to have a better career. But I think all in all, I don't like him in the Browns. I mean, I don't know, who would compete against him, obviously, but I just don't see it being a great career for him.
Right.
I see where you're going historically with that. It's yes, the Browns have had the horrible track record with quarterbacks, blah 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 blah. At some point, that stuff's got to end. It's got to move on. I think the new regime there is doing a really, really good job. They've set them up with a ton of weapons. I mean, just their running game alone with Chubb and Hyde and Johnson, and then you got Landry and Gordon and Coleman, some of the young guys in there at receiver, and Njoku at tight end, DeValve at tight. I mean, they've put weapons around them, and they've got an offensive line. This is not a bad offense. This is not your typical Cleveland Browns offense. A lot of it's going to be, okay, Hugh Jackson, is he going to be there next year? Is he going to have the new offensive coordinator come next year? Are they going to do that cycle where it's just they never have that consistency, and it's, is he going to start right away? They have Tyrod Taylor. I see Tyrod Taylor taking the reins on this team, letting him learn, make sure he's ready, not have to throw under fire, barring an injury of some sort. But I like this situation for Mayfield. I don't like him being the number one pick in the draft, but it is what it is. Now he's Cleveland's second string quarterback fighting for the first string.
I think he'll compete. The only thing, I mean, I do agree with you on the weapons. The fact that they do have a good supporting cast in the run game, typically you see good run game, in the defense they've stepped up. They've got some tools in defense, and they can do the run game for a couple years and kind of ride that for a little while he develops into their system.
And they have one of the best young pass-catching running backs in Duke Johnson, who I see is looking to sign an extension right now with Cleveland. That's even another weapon for him to work with.
Falling under a lot of radars right now because of the other supporting cast.
He's going to be in there catching passes regardless.
I know they were working with Chubb, but we're not here to talk about Chubb. We're working out of the backfield to catch passes.
Well,
but,
we're talking about the weapons though that he has there to succeed,
and that may help him in the long run, dynasty wise. I think that there is potential. Yes, Jeff.
Real quick, Chad, you brought up Coleman's name. Put up or shut up with Coleman? How do you feel? I mean,
I think this is a big year for Coleman. I mean, Jarvis Landry draw a lot of double teams. A lot of attention to his side of the field. Josh Gordon's going to be Josh Gordon if he can stay off the pot. Corey Coleman's going to have a lot of opportunities at targets if that's the case, and he's got to make the most of it. I really liked him coming out of Baylor a couple years ago. It's just been one of those who's been throwing him the ball lately. I think he's in a good situation to succeed this year. So if he doesn't, it's on him. And they've got guys in line that can come right behind him.
I think without a doubt, you both kind of say the point. He does have weapons. My personal take is I love Baker Mayfield. I love his attitude. I don't know why he gets crapped on for his attitude, but people let Josh Rosen just be the way Josh Rosen is. I mean, it's highly reported. I don't have to bring it up, but it's out there. So it's kind of like
he's caught flack for it.
Maybe
not to the extent of Mayfield, but
Yeah, I don't think as much as Mayfield has, but I see a difference. Josh Rosen comes across smug, arrogant, an a-hole. Mayfield comes across like I'm gonna come punch you in the face, but I'm gonna lead you. He's like the movie The Outsiders fight. He's the one. He's Matt Dillon. You're not gonna start a rumble without me. It just comes running in and starts it. I like Mayfield. I don't think he'll start, but
I think he's. If they're smart, he's a year away. He doesn't need to start this year. You brought Tyrod Taylor in for a reason. Let him do what you brought him in to do. That's lead this team. Let's get him a winning record or close to a winning record. Start fighting for a division. Develop your young quarterback. Make sure he's ready so that when you do throw him out there, it's a chance to just take off.
Yeah, but I think we can both see him possibly starting a few games this year.
Easily. I mean, it depends on how the season goes, especially it's Cleveland.
Right. Well, speaking of Josh Rosen, let's talk about him next. Good report out of the mini camp is that, or the OTAs, is that the league had to really come down on him because there was an NFLPA thing going on, and he didn't want to leave practice. He wanted to stay there, and they said he's really looked good. He's been hooking up with Christian Kirk a lot, but what are your thoughts on Josh Rosen?
Well, first of all, Christian Kirk's been making bad quarterbacks look good for a couple years now at A&M, so it's not hard for him to do it.
Are you saying Josh Rosen's a bad quarterback?
Why, yes, I am, actually. I'm not a big Rosen fan. Got the tools, got it. I don't think he's got it upstairs. And the way, to me, it reflects for him on the field is you put some pressure in this guy's face, and he falls flat.
Interesting.
Get to him with a good pass rush. Make him move, get outside. Not necessarily outside the pocket, but running for his life outside the pocket. If the defense collapses on him, he's going to throw interceptions. He's going to make bad passes. And with only Larry Fitzgerald, a good running back game. If David Johnson rebounds,
he'll rebound.
You've got Christian Kirk, but then that's all you've got. So, I mean, and their offensive line's in the rebuild process too. So,
Could be a rough year for him.
And I think if it is a rough year for him, it's gonna have the David Carr syndrome. I'm not calling him David Carr, but that even if you have the talent early, if you get your head kicked in, it's going to affect you 2-3 years down the line. And I can see that happening if he's playing.
That's my question. Rough year or rough career? Do you think he's going to do okay there? He's going to have a couple bumpy years? I
think he's going to have an NFL career. I think he's going to be a starter in this league. I just think he's going to be a Mariota level, Blake Bortles
somewhat serviceable
level.
Average.
He's a serviceable, average, middle of the road, 15 to 20 quarterback at best.
Okay, and I mean, Jeff, how important is David Johnson's health to his overall, Rosen's, next couple of years.
Oh, it's not important at all.
It's
It's extremely important because here's a guy that's a 3-down back. Here, he's like Chad was saying. I mean, if the pocket collapses, he's going to need that safety, from
And he's
from
a mobile
David Johnson
quarterback.
to throw it.
He's a mobile quarterback. He can get outside. That's not the question. What's he going to do when he has to get outside?
That's why I feel like Carson Palmer was able to extend his career as long as he did because he had David Johnson to support, and he kind of got, he had Larry Fitzgerald too. That doesn't hurt you
In his
either.
prime.
Well,
Yeah.
and he had Floyd there when Floyd had a couple good years, and I mean it's Gresham before he was getting old.
Yeah.
and, he had some targets,
But he was totally immobile.
and Chris Johnson. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean he had more than just David Johnson.
Look, I'm 5'10", 5'9", 238 today, 240. I could probably outrun Carson Palmer. So
Yeah, I mean
He's
but
not as
you're
bad.
right.
He's not as bad as Peyton Manning.
Carson Palmer.
He's worse than Manning. I think Manning outran him.
Anything past a yard and a half, Carson Palmer's probably got a better arm than you do too. So
Well,
that-
that's
Peyton
true.
Peyton Manning ran a 7 flat.
Right. So Chad, you're saying average QB. Pat, what are you saying?
I agree with that. I don't see him extending that. I mean, he may have one good year. I think he may have one good year that he may sneak into the top 10. Of the quarterbacks, he just has a good blowout year. But I think they're going to have to build some support around him and help him out a little bit more. But other than that, I think he's average is probably about right. I'm thinking, the 20s maybe jump up into the right at the 16th, 17th quarterback ranking.
And two, if Arizona has their way, I don't think they see this for 2-3 years. I think they want Bradford to be that guy for this year, going into the following year, possibly, depending on, what Larry Fitzgerald. Larry Fitzgerald doesn't want to groom quarterback. Larry Fitzgerald wants to make the playoffs and win. And I think right now, if Bradford's healthy, that's their guy.
They should have traded Larry. They should have traded Larry and given him a shot somewhere to get a title.
I
or
don't
something.
think he wanted to be traded.
He may not have been. I think he's
an Arizona guy?
Until
I
he
think
dies. But,
not that
until
not
he
winning.
retires.
I'm sorry. Not that not winning the Super Bowl isn't a big thing, but I mean,
He's won one.
but I mean, I'm
Or
just
been to
saying.
one.
I'm just saying. It goes back to the age-old question. If you're starting a team, you want Trent Dilfer, who won a Super Bowl, or Dan Marino. I think winning Super Bowl is great, but as far as your greatness is concerned, like people tip your hat to you for your play, Larry Fitzgerald's going to be fine without a ring, even though I do agree
Yes.
he wants to win.
Just like Dan Marino was.
Yeah, and I don't think the ring is as important outside of the quarterback position. That's where you really judge at the quarterback. Wide receivers and running backs, I don't think it's, he doesn't have a ring, because you're not, at the helm per se. So I mean, he's a Hall of Famer. I mean, come on.
Oh, he's,
Yeah.
he's a no
Yeah.
doubt Hall of Famer.
Well, we'll see. I have
Well,
doubts.
so comparing Mayfield to Rosen, let's say you're going into a dynasty draft, Mayfield all the way over Rosen for both of you guys?
Me, yes.
I got to say, there, because of, like we talked about the tools, and they are building something. I wish he wouldn't. I wish they swapped.
But
Okay.
But going into Dynasty, they're my third quarterback right now. Neither one of them I'm having
Okay.
as my 1 or 2.
That's fair.
Well, let's go to who I think is your number one. Let's talk about Sam Darnold. They're up in New York with the Jets.
Jets.
Darnold was my number 1 guy coming into the year. I was a deadlock that Cleveland was going to take him. I'm surprised they didn't, but I think he landed in a great spot in New York. Now, he doesn't quite have the weapons yet, but give him time. They do have a decent line. They're working on the running game. They've brought in some whatever named running backs. And,
Yeah, Balil
Kroll
Powell, I
and
believe.
Kroll, Powell.
Elijah McGuire, the rookie last year, showed some flashes of like hitting a home run.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's the guy you take first or second in your fantasy league, but he's got the potential.
I mean, right now, Corral's going to get the
Yes.
majority of the carries there. And that's not a bad play. He's a good workhorse. He was a good workhorse in Cleveland. The receivers, we'll see.
They need help there.
But then again, the receivers could be a lack of quarterback for their production. Josh McCown was thrown to him last year. Okay, he had probably his
He had a
best
good
year.
year, yeah.
His
Yeah.
best year, but I mean, Geno Smith before that?
Well, it's Geno Smith, let's be honest.
It's whoever.
It's like
let's
Hackenberg.
see with a good quarterback thrown to him what they can do. Darius Stewart was the guy who got forgot about last year. I was high on him coming into the Jets. He kind of dwindled out there. Can he step up this year? It's just kind of a hodgepodge of names at receiver, but we'll see how it goes.
All right. I didn't mean to step on you there. I apologize, Chad. But let's, back to, you looked up, Hackenberg was a second-round pick.
Yes.
Geno Smith, there's another guy that teams reach for, and it's just like, we are sitting there and we're like, we know. Why are you doing it? It's so stupid. But anyway, I don't want to stray on that. But let's go to you, Pat.
Well,
on Sam Darnold.
See, Sam Darnold coming into the draft, I felt like he was the most NFL ready. I can't necessarily. I agree with Chad there, but I disagree on the fact that landing in the Jets wasn't the best spot. Now that right now they are in a rebuilding position. They did bring in some help with the run support. Bring in Crowell. Crowell is basically, he's a good average running back that'll help you, get somebody. He had a decent year last year, but he was their only weapon really in Cleveland. And that leading into it, career-wise, I think Darnold will have if they do it right, they've got the good, we'll say the chess piece, the king, to be able to move the pieces around the board and all that. But if they do it right, he could have a very, very good career over at the Jets. The only question there is landing right now. If you're in need, if you're in need of a quarterback, obviously, like we talked about, he's going to be my second or he'd probably be my third string, but I don't feel that him landing there right this second, he's going to have a huge impact for the next couple of years.
I don't think so. These other two quarterbacks, we talked about weapons with these guys. We're kind of struggling to talk weapons that the Jets have. We're like, Crowell's decent. Elijah McGuire, he can hit the home run every once in a while. Mm-hmm. But obviously this is Dynasty, Chad. Yeah. I don't know if you know or you've looked into it, but I think the Jets believe in him. Do you believe they'll get him a top-tier wide receiver? They'll start building around him?
Yeah, eventually. They had a lot of stock in Robbie Anderson, who he's just had off-field issue after off-field issue. Like I said, they drafted Stewart last year. I think they're high on him. And Nunwa, they just hope he can stay healthy.
Right.
They've got some guys, and they've tried to invest in the position. They just haven't done great. I want to say Jeremy Curley's there right now.
Yes.
They're trying to do what they can, but you can only do so much at a time. But yeah, I could see them next year in the offseason, in the draft, however. But then again, too, they've still got McCown there to take the lumps this year. If it is a bad start to the season, he doesn't have to jump straight into the fire.
Right.
I was going to say the biggest thing that they did do right is they at least have a decent line to protect their investments. That's the biggest thing. That's where a lot of teams make mistakes is they go ahead and they get that quarterback without a line to help them. So they end up getting gun shy and all that. I think they've done that right to where he should be able to have a decent career there. At least they're working. They started with, kind of with the line and move forward from there.
Okay. So for, again, dynasty draft purposes, Chad, this is if you need a quarterback. I'm not saying you, but if you were advising people, Darnold's the guy you want. You would say take Darnold above Mayfield and Rosen right now.
Right now.
And Pat, where would you put him?
Out
of the three, we got other guys we're talking.
Yeah, I do like Darnold out of those three.
Really?
I like Darnold out of those three just because, basically because of the line. Baker Mayfield has more weapons. But I feel Darnold, in dynasty-wise long run, I may contradict what I have, but through the conversation,
all right,
it's opened my eyes.
All right, well, before we move on to Josh Allen, I will say this about Darnold. I haven't heard from any other training camps about these other quarterbacks, but you got to tip your hat and respect Josh McCown because it's been widely said that he's been helping Darnold. Like he hasn't gone Brett Favre or, there's kind of been that Roethlisberger thing, Joe Flacco with Jackson.
Yeah.
But McNown's
I think a lot of that is because he's not Ben Roethlisberger. He's not Joe Flacco. He's not those guys.
We're
true, but
we're going to talk about Joe Flacco, though.
Well,
Joe
Flacco's
but,
not saying much now.
Yeah, but true, right. He's still fighting for a job. But, he doesn't have to do it. He can be like them and say, I don't have to. Look, it's not my job to help. I'm just going out there, try to win games. The fact that he is helping the rookie QB, that's cool.
He's a 39-year-old quarterback, too, if I'm not
right.
mistaken.
He kind of knows his time's up.
He knows. Right. The fact that he's even starting at this point in his career, like I said, this is the best his career's been. So,
right. He was on my team last year. He got me points. So
and it works.
All right.
That'll happen.
Well, let's go and let's speak about the man with the cannon. Went to the Bills. We're talking Josh Allen. Pat, You love Josh Allen, I hear.
I do. He is probably one of the biggest boom or bust of the draft. I'm leaning towards more boom. That Cannon is, it's hard to, but unfortunately, I look at him more as a Joe Flacco that's trainable with accuracy. Joe Flacco had the cannon, but it was always hard to train him with the accuracy. I feel like if that's my biggest knock on him. If they can coach him up on the accuracy, I think the way he's at with the Bills and the things they're doing over there, he's got good run support, and I feel like the line's solid there. And he's got decent receivers. I feel like starting out, dynasty wise, I feel like to me, obviously, like I would draft him and I'd let him ride my bench for a couple years, but it's low investment because he's not high on a lot of people's drafts. He's up there because he was a first round pick, but I like him. He was one of my favorite quarterbacks, if not my favorite quarterbacks coming into this draft, just because of the cannon and what he can do.
Exactly. Chad, you got anything?
I don't understand what the Bills are doing, first of all.
They're awesome.
Last year, you go out and draft Nathan Peterman, and you had Tyrod Taylor.
Right.
You trade away Tyrod Taylor to the Browns, and you go out and sign A.J. McCarron. And then you go and you spend your first-round pick on Josh Allen. So now you have A.J. McCarron, who you traded for, Peterman, who you drafted last year, Allen, who you drafted this year. And I'm going to assume there's going to be a wide-open competition between the three. You can go ahead and toss Peterman to the side, in my opinion, in that. But so who is it? You just invested into A.J. McCarron, and you just invested into Josh Allen. Is this a whole Bears thing with Mitch Trubisky, Mike Glennon last year? Do you believe in A.J. McCarron, or is Josh Allen your guy? I mean, you traded up for him. I just don't understand what's going on there with that whole situation. So as far as talent-wise with Josh Allen, yes, he's got all the tools. He's got some questions coming out of college. Some people are very high. Some people are very low. Yeah, it is a big boomer bust on this guy. It just kind of depends on how you feel on him. I think the Bills are going the Browns direction with the quarterback thing. They're just cycling through these guys.
Carousel of quarterbacks.
Yes, and I can see Josh Allen being another guy in this. I think he's going to get thrown in the fire way too early. He's going to make a lot of mistakes early, and we'll see if he can rebound from them and build. Who's he got to throw the ball to? Not a whole lot. He's got a great running game, pretty good offensive line. Not much on the side of receivers and Zay Jones and.
We got to figure out what's going to happen with Zay Jones.
Kelvin Benjamin's still over there, isn't he?
Kelvin Benjamin, yeah, but I mean,
it depends. We'll see how he comes in for
exactly. So
training
there's
camp.
there's a lot of questions.
He's fat or not.
He's going to come in extra skinny.
I
this year.
personally, I don't think he's going to start for a while. I think A.J. McCarron's a good quarterback. Teams are interested in him. Anytime he got to play, he showed his stuff on the field. I think A.J. McCarron's driven to show people and give them the middle finger and say,
Yeah,
look,
so-
I told you I could play.
So where does that leave Josh Allen?
Exactly. It's going to leave the Bills with a decision to make in a couple of years. Do we sign McCarron to long-term or do we keep Josh Allen? It's definitely going to be something, Pat.
That is a fear because what you did is you traded up to take Allen, and you value him higher. You're not going to if they decide to go with. I mean, granted, they probably have a couple of they've got a few years. It's not like it's costing them a ton of money. It cost them some picks, but they're not going to get his value in a trade because I can't say no one, but he wasn't valued that high in a lot of other drafts. I do agree with you on A.J. McCarron. I think he has shown that he can do it. But the question is, I feel like if you put in another quarterback in that competition, it's only going to value be better for the Bills in the long run. But I think that's going to be a possibility that Allen overtakes it.
All right. You have anything else, Chad? If not, let's move on
We can move on from Josh Allen.
Allen Jackson. From Allen to Jackson. To Lamar Jackson. Pat, you talking about Joe Flacco.
Yeah, man.
And here's a team that traded up for a guy that I'm just going to say, when you talk quarterbacks to me and the first thing you say isn't arm strength, arm accuracy, or leadership, and you tell me he's athletic, I have a problem. Pat,
Yep,
go.
and that's exactly it. Joe Flacco, I feel like he, Joe Cool, as he's called, was not the, big mouthpiece of the Flacco or of the Ravens. Granted, Ray Lewis was there for a long time. He was the mouthpiece of the Ravens, so he spoke for a lot of people. But
I've never heard of this Ray Lewis guy. Did you say he's a loud person? What?
so they say. But the thing, I guess for me, Joe Flacco is the guy. He won the Super Bowl for you. You paid him, and he hasn't done crap since. He's fallen off. He got his payday. Good for him. He's your starting quarterback. You've got to start to transition, and I don't think Lamar Jackson. I almost said Lamar Miller again. I don't think Jackson's the answer because, like you said, Jeff, you summed it up. Joe Flacco had the arm strength. At least he had some leadership ability, and he was intelligent. When it came to certain times he was intelligent. But I don't think Jackson has those qualities to be able to roll in and out. They're going to have to form fit. If he's going to replace him in the future, they're going to have to completely change their offense scheme, in my eyes. But
right.
I still think Flacco's days are numbered though, because he's been inefficient.
100% on the fact that they'll have to change their scheme for him. Joe Flacco is a completely different quarterback than Lamar Jackson.
He's surprisingly fast.
Lamar Jackson has a lot more arm strength than I think you're giving him credit for, though. The guy can throw the football. His deep ball accuracy, we'll see. How he handles an offense in the NFL, we'll see. All reports his first practice, he's ducking and running on
ducks.
throw plays, and it's like, okay, wait a second here.
What? Elmer Fudd showed up hunting ducks.
So we'll see. A lot of people believed in him just as much as these other guys that went in the top part of the first round. He went in the first round. Whether it's 32 or 13, you invested a first-round pick on a quarterback that you traded up to get. So obviously they've got some kind of plan with him in the future. I'm not as high on the guy. I think he's got the tools. I think he's can make it in the league. I don't see him ever being anything more than a backup for his career, though.
Like a Joe Webb or something like that.
I would say more kind of like
Had to squeeze in Joe Webb, didn't you?
Geno Smith, EJ Manuel.
Okay. Tyrod Taylor. Starting occasionally?
No. I think
even on that
Tyrod
level?
Taylor.
Do you have a problem with black quarterbacks?
No, I don't.
Where EJ Manuel, I was just
it's
Well,
comparison.
it's.
I know what you're saying.
The comparison, I like him a lot to Manuel coming out of Florida State.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
What Jeff, what would you say if, let's say I compared him to RG3 or Deshaun Watson?
I think he's more RG3 than Deshaun Watson. I'm not a fan of Lamar. He looked crappy at the combine when you're throwing. Everyone goes, well, of course they look good. They're in shorts. I'm like, well, all right, he looked crappy in shorts. Maybe it's just practice. Maybe go back to Alverson. It's just practice. Maybe when he gets the juices flowing in a game, out comes Steve Young, or whatever.
He could be better in pads. That's I'm just curious because
I'm a Chad. I think he's a backup.
Yeah, and that's a legit. Because the reason I compare him to those two is because of his style of play. It's similar to that. But I don't know anything on injuries. As far as I know, he's decent, but not an RG3 in that. But that's those are the
he's small. Yeah,
he
can get injured.
And those are the RG3 and
Deshaun
Watson, and that's what happened. That's why I ask. Because there's a curiosity because RG3 could sling the thing when he wanted to.
RG3 was health. RG3 could play football. I don't think his skill was ever his problem. He just got hurt and then never recovered. Washington, he got laid out in Washington, and it just was never the same for him.
So his injury wasn't walking onto the practice field. It was he actually got hurt.
No, it wasn't. Okay. It wasn't a Deshaun Watson, I'm a baby injury.
I just wanted to clarify that.
All right. All right, well, guys, let's stay in the AFC North. And let's go over to Pittsburgh and talk Mason Rudolph. Chad, he was your guy, wasn't he?
Yes.
Over Darnold, or he was your number one guy?
No. I think his potential is just as high as any of the other quarterbacks' potential. I think if you want to compare him to anybody, I think the guy he's going to be sitting behind is a great comparison for him. He's a big quarterback with a big arm. He's accurate. He's a leader. He put up the numbers in college. He's got everything you want. It's just how is he going to translate? And I think he's in a perfect situation where he doesn't have to start for 2 or 3 years. And like Big Ben said, he wants to play 5 more. I don't see that happening. But I think Mason Rudolph is already going to be your number 2 guy. I think Ben Roethlisberger sees that writing on the table. That's why he kind of was sticking up for his guys that he had in there. Landry Jones, get out of town, you're gone. Josh Dobbs experiment, that's over. Mason Rudolph, I think, has a potential, and you can call it now. He's going to be their starting quarterback in 3 years.
I agree with that. One of the scouts at the combine when I was there for DynastyWise fantasy football.
Thank you for going, Jeff.
Yeah, no problem. But I did read that one of the scouts said that this guy, like in college, you look at him and he's in that type of Oklahoma State offense and everything like that. But they say they're seeing him. He's like improving. Like you see him and you have these scouts have their doubts, but then they see him again and he's improved. And he's improved and he keeps improving. And he came out with the same attitude Josh Rosen. He was like, well, I think I'm the best quarterback, and I like that. I think I'm 100% with you, Chad. This guy's going to be a starter in the NFL. But, Pat, let's go to you.
I agree with that. And the biggest thing is, like you said, you hit the nail on the head with, him improving. He may have not necessarily been polished or NFL ready, but if he's improving, he can get there quickly. I feel like he's got the brains and he's got the size. I mean, he's 6'4", 225. He's a pretty good size.
I think he's Roethlisberger size, 6'5".
Yeah, he's a big guy.
Yeah, he's a pretty good size feller. And that's
feller.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. He's got the size, so they're not going to have to change their scheme. They're able just to do more of the same of what's successful for him. But the fact that he is improving, and I can't. I'm trying to figure out a counterpoint to your 3 years, but I can't. Because I do see it, and they do have to have an exit strategy for Big Ben.
Well, and Roethlisberger can say all he wants. There's people talking if he was going to retire this year, and he's coming out and saying 5 more years. Okay, great. I want that for my quarterback. He wants to be out there. He wants to play the game, this and that. But this team is going to be in that transition phase here in about 2 years. Is Le'Veon Bell still going to be there? Is Antonio Brown still going to be there? Are they going to pay these guys? Where's this team going in the future? In the direction are they going? Big Ben is a win now. The Steelers are a win now, of course. They're a great team. They're going to be in it. But they also have to plan for 2-3 years down the road, and I think this was the perfect pickup to do that.
Wasn't Roethlisberger saying he was real close to retiring, and now all of a sudden he's coming out saying, it's like, what do you want a team to do? You're not – look, Joe Montana got traded. Ronnie Lott got traded.
Roethlisberger will
Jerry Rice got traded.
He'll retire. He's not – this guy, he's had health issues. He's not mobile whatsoever like he used to be. He can take a hit. Yeah, he's a big guy, but again, he's got a rocket arm. He's getting old though, and he's not. Is he the kind of guy that's going to go do that to his legacy somewhere else other than Pittsburgh? He doesn't have to. It's all about an ego. Again, I think this whole playing for 5 years thing was him just kind of putting his foot down, like this is my team. These backup quarterbacks, I got their back. They're my teammates coming into it. We'll see how it goes. So.
I guess he's just not hearing the word no.
Yes, we all know he's not good at that.
He's not used to hearing that word.
he does not understand that.
All right, so let's
just
we're gonna
Mason Rudolph. Do not get on a motorcycle with the guy.
Yeah. so let's say we got Mayfield, Rosen, Darnold, Allen, Jackson. I had to pause so they don't start singing again. And then Mason Rudolph. Who are the 2 guys, and we'll go to you, Chad, first. Out of those 2 guys, you're advising someone starting a dynasty league or needing a quarterback in a dynasty. Who are the 2 guys you would say, look at these guys?
Tanner Lee and Luke Falk. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, okay.
Out of the guys we've gone over, if I had my druthers right now, I'm taking Darnold and Mayfield. Or I'm sorry, Rudolph.
Okay, now, do you see out of Darnold and Rudolph, is one of them going to be up there in the top 10 for his career? He's going to, I'm not saying they're going to be the next Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, but maybe they'll be like solid, like
I think,
or could they be?
Okay, if you're looking at this in the next 3 to 5 years, Mayfield and Darnold, to me, have your biggest shot at being a potential top 10 fantasy point scorer in the next 3 to 5 years. If you're looking the next 4 to 8 years, I'm going Darnold and Rudolph.
Okay. All right. Pat, you got 2 guys?
Yeah, it's tough because I do like I do agree with Mayfield, but of course I've got to stick my on Josh Allen because I think that he is going to have a boom. I think that's going to stay there. Now, honestly, Darnold, if they do it right with the Jets, then that's completely negated. I don't feel like the Jets are going to do Darnold right in the long run. They are building, they're doing good, but I feel, and I agree with that. If they're going to, and that's if they're riding my, if I can hang on to him for 3 or 4 years. Now, if I'm starting one or if I'm looking for someone to start in the next year or so, that's where I do like Darnold and I do like Mayfield.
Okay. All right.
I just like to add one guy, Kyle Lauletta. went to the Giants. The Patriots, everybody in the offseason was Patriots are high on this guy. The Patriots, this is their guy, looking possible draft, this and that. Giants went out and scooped him up. Eli Manning's only got, 2 more years left on him?
Maybe.
Is this the guy they're going to groom? Is this their potential? They got Davis Webb last year. We don't know if they're really big on him.
Yeah.
So they went in, got Lauletta this year. Could this guy potentially be a sleeper fantasy stash away? Put him on your practice squad, see where he's at in a year or two.
I honestly, that's where I like it, and I'm going to agree with a portion of it because of them picking up Barkley. Having that support there to bring in a younger quarterback.
And who can groom behind Manning.
Yeah,
because he's no pressure on Manning to, I'm driving you out of here. Hey, let me sit behind you for 2 years.
Yeah, and I do like that. And I feel like that's more of, and like we were talking about with Pittsburgh, because that's where I was leaning on him, is I feel like Lauletta has a better, I think he's going to start sooner over in the Giants than
he may start sooner than Rudolph will.
Rudolph.
I'm just talking about.
No, I got you. That's only
ability, situation. Down the line, like I said, 4 years from now, I think Rudolph's going to be a household name.
Every time I look at Eli Manning, I just see him with a big helmet with no face mask because he just looks like he's missing a chromosome.
Hey, chromosome or not, this guy is the
luckiest guy in the NFL.
This guy is Tom Brady's kryptonite. He was the guy who you talk about the Patriots,
he's talking about
dynasty and everything. Yeah. He beat them twice
because the Patriots.
He's got two
because the Patriots defense dropped 3 passes that he threw right to him. But
call it what you want. He got him there, and he beat him. He beat the undefeated team. The guy. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback in my mind.
What's that saying? Every squirrel gets a nut every once in a while. As far
he's got
as
2 more Super Bowls than my favorite quarterback ever. So
as far as Kyle, he looked good in the Senior Bowl. They say he doesn't have the full arm strength, but they say he's got the best tangible. His footwork's there, his technique's there. So you get this guy coached up with NFL coaches. You got Barkley. You've got a good offensive line. I love Will Hernandez. That dude's he just wants to kill somebody out there as an offensive lineman. I think he could be the guy if you can deal with someone without maybe that strong arm. But yeah,
well, he's a poor man's Joe Flacco.
You're right.
Yeah, I mean
he's coming into a very similar situation as Flacco, where he had a great running game, a solid defense. Some good wide receivers.
He's got great wide
small
receivers.
School. Yeah. Delaware was Flacco. Richmond is Lauletta. There's a very, very similar path to the NFL for both of them. Flacco didn't have to really sit behind anybody.
No, he just took it over. Yeah.
Maybe that's to Lauletta's advantage. So,
and he's got overall the Giants have a great. I think they're probably in the top 5 as far as overall receivers. I think their trio is Odell and Sterling Shepard's still over there, right?
Yeah, Shepard.
That's it. Brandon Marshall retired.
Brandon Marshall is,
or he's not there anymore.
He's not there anymore.
They have the young tight end.
Ingram. Yeah, Ingram.
Who
Ingram to me is the next big tight end in the NFL.
And that's possible. And then on top of that, just as a caveat, you've got one of the highest rated running backs to come out.
Yes.
To me, there's no reason at all.
If he gets thrown in the fire, he's got everything set up to where he's not going to be Nathan Peterman.
If Eli Manning couldn't do it last year with the weapons he had, because now he didn't have Saquon, but he had Paul Perkins. He had a decent run.
Well, they had some offensive line issues.
Perkins wasn't great.
Well, he wasn't, but I'm just saying you did have some support. But they
needed a running game.
You couldn't make an excuse.
Odell
to the receivers,
didn't play
though.
last year.
That's true, and that's true too. I'll give you that, but. That being said, Eli has struggled the last couple of years. Actually, the year before that he did okay, but he had Odell Heffy.
He's up and down. If he's got the weapons, he's got the protection. As long as he's not being forced to make stupid passes, he gets the ball to the guys and he runs the offense like he needs to. He's won some Super Bowls with it.
He runs a 6'9".
Okay.
His brother 6'9", to be exact.
His brother ran a 7.
Yeah.
Which just Cooper ran a 5'5".
But
well, all right, guys, y'all have let's just go ahead and end the podcast. I think we gave you some good stuff to think about for the rookie quarterbacks. Of course, always you can contact us on Facebook or Twitter or our website, DynastyWiseGuys.com. Where are you? .com. Where are you?
.com.
Yeah. I missed that when Chad's not here. But of course, this will be on our YouTube page. Questions, comments. We're great. We suck. Whatever.
Hit me up on Twitter at DynastyWiseChad.
You have DynastyWise Chad. I hate Twitter. I'm not on Twitter.
And we've got some great.
That's not his Twitter handle, by the way.
Yeah.
And we've got some great events coming up that we're going to be just participating in. Look for those in the future. They'll be posted in our events on our Facebook page.
Right, and on our Facebook page, we said if we got 125 likes, someone's going to take a Carolina Reaper salsa challenge. It's been going on a while. We're telling you we're going to do it, but just right now, Clayton, who's going to do it, he's real sick. We're looking to do that possibly next week. If not, Chad said he'd step up and do it.
Yeah, that's a negative.
It may end up that we all end up doing it as payback for us taking so long.
That's
Right.
a negative.
But hey, folks, we want to thank you again for listening to us, and we'll see you next Wednesday for the Dynasty Wise Fantasy Football Podcast.
Later.